So for lesson 3, we're going to name numbers within 1 million by building understanding of the place value chart and placement of commas for naming base thousand units. So for number 1, we're going to start off by just finding out where a comma goes. So if you remember from class, we start at the ones place and count over 3 places for each comma. So for 1A here, we start with the 4 because that's in the ones place, and we can count 1, 2, 3, place a comma, and then we can rewrite it as 1,234. Okay, now our next one we have another place, but we're starting at the 5, and we can count over 3 and place our comma. So we can see that we have 12,345. Okay, so our next one, we're going at 1 spot over, but we still start in the ones place to identify where our comma goes to get 123,456. Okay, and then letter D, we got one more place. Letter D is a little bit different because we have 2 commas. Okay, because we have 1,234,567. Okay, so we started at the 7s in the ones place, count over every 3 numbers to separate with a comma. Okay, now our letter E here is pretty tricky because we have a lot of numbers. So, starting in the ones place, remember to count over 3. Okay, and then we can rewrite. This time with commas. Okay, very large number. It is 12,345,678,901. So if you notice, each section of 3 units has a different label that we name every time we hit the comma. Okay, so moving on to number 2, we're going to solve our expression here and write it in standard form. So 5 tens plus 5 tens is going to equal 10 tens. Okay, and then written in standard form, we know that 10 tens is 100. Okay. Same thing, next one we have 3 hundreds plus 7 hundreds. Well, 3 plus 7 is 10. Okay, and 100 has 2 zeros, so we're going to place 2 more zeros and then place our comma. Okay, next one gets a little bit trickier. We're getting a little bit louder, a little bit larger. So we have 400 plus 600. Okay, which means 1000 or 1000, but this is 10 hundred thousands, which means we need to add 3 more zeros to get 1 million. Okay, next one we have 8 thousands plus 4 thousands. 8 plus 4 we know is 12. And the number 1,000 has 3 zeros, so we're going to put 3 zeros after that 12. Okay, so number 3 here, we're going to represent each addend with place value disks in the place value chart. And we're going to show the composition of larger units from 10 smaller units. And then we're going to write the sum in standard form. So it sounds like there's a lot in there, but it should be pretty quick. So we have 4 thousands, so we're going to come over to the thousands place, put 4 circles. Okay. Now hundreds, we have 11 hundreds. So we see that that's more than 10. So when I go to place these number disks, I'm going to put them in groups of 10. Okay, so I'm going to draw 10 hundreds. And then I'm going to put my extra one over there. So here's my 11 hundreds, 10 and then 1. Because now I know that I need to bundle up these 10 hundreds to make another 1,000. So now we can see when we go to name this that we have 5 thousands and 100 to make it look like that. And we have to write our sum in standard form. Okay, next one, we have 24 10,000s. So I'm going to start with my 10,000s place. Okay, remember I'm going to make groups of 10 so it's easier to bundle later. Okay, so there's 20 10,000s, and then I just need 4 more. All right, so next one we have 11 thousands. So again, just like letter A, I'm going to put 10 thousands and then my 11th one off to the side. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start to the right and work our way to the left. So we're going to start with our thousands, and we're going to bundle up 10 to create one more 10,000. Okay, then we're going to bundle up our 10,000s to make 100,000. Okay, so now when we go to write our number, okay, if we start from right to left, we see that we have 3 zeros. Okay, then I have a 1,000. We have 5 10,000s, and we have 2 100,000. So we get 251,000 for this one. Okay, moving on to our next page, we're going to take a look at some digits on the place value chart with some multiplication. So 4 says, use digits or discs on the place value chart to represent the following equations. And we're going to write the product in standard form. Okay, so we can either use number discs or just the regular digits. So for here we have 10 times 3,000. So I'm going to do this one with number discs, and then we'll work our way off of the number discs. So we have 3,000s. Okay. Now, to multiply by 10, we're going to take these 3 discs, and we're going to shift them one spot over. Okay, so rather than drawing out all 30,000s, let's save ourselves some time because we know we're just going to bundle them up and move them over to the left. Okay, so now we see that we have 3 10,000s, which gets us our 30,000. So now the question asks, well, how many thousands are in our answer? Well, we see that 10 times 3 is 30. Okay, so we end up with 30 thousands, or 30,000, or 3 10,000s. Okay, for our next spot, okay, we have 3 10,000s, and we have 2 thousands. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply this by 10. So we're going to take each of these, shift them over one spot to the left to multiply. Okay, so now our answer, we see that we have 3 100,000s, 2 10,000s, 0 thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. Now our question says how many thousands are there? This one's a little bit tricky, but if we look at the number, it's 320 thousands, which means we have 320 thousands. Okay. So our last one, 32 thousands, 104 ones. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit tricky because we're going to have to do some bundling with this one. So we're going to draw 32 thousands. Okay, so there's our 32 thousands. Okay, now remember I want to do this in groups of 10 for when I go to bundle later on. Okay, we have 100, and I have 4 ones. Okay, so you can see here that we've got some empty places. Okay, so a couple things we need to do here. We know we need to multiply by 10, and we also see that we definitely have to do some bundling. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do the bundling first, just so that we can have fewer number discs to write. So we're going to bundle these up, shift them over to the left, okay, and now those are gone. Okay, now we can go ahead and multiply by 10. So start with our ones, and we're going to shift everything over to the left. Okay, now here's where it gets a little bit tricky because these are now gone because we've bundled them up. So what we're doing is we're taking just these 2 10,000s, shifting them over one spot. We're taking these 300,000s, shifting them over one spot. Okay, now we got a lot of stuff going on here, so let's work our way from the right. So now we have 0 ones, we have 4 10s, we have 0 hundreds, comma. We have 1,000. Now if you notice, this is tricky. But we have 0 10,000s. Okay. We have 200,000s, and then we have 3 millions over here. Okay, so now our question is, how many thousands are in your answer? So 1 is in the thousands place, but when we look at everything in front of it, we see that we have 3,201 thousands. Okay, so finally here, our last question. Lee and Gary visited South Korea. They exchanged their dollars for South Korean bills. Now Lee received 15 10,000 Korean bills. Gary received 150,000 bills. Use discs or numbers on a place value chart to compare Lee's and Gary's money. Okay, so we have Lee and we have Gary. So we're going to go ahead and start our place value chart so that we can compare both of them. Okay, there's our place value chart, and we're going to kind of separate Lee and Gary here with a little squiggly line. Okay, so now going back up to our problem here, Lee received 15 $10,000 bills. Okay, so we come over here, well, that means we have 5 10,000 and 100,000. Okay, because our 10 10,000s would get shifted over to the 100,000s place. Okay, now Gary received 150,000 bills. Okay, so if we think in this spot right here would be 150. And when we go to do our bundling, we would have 0 thousands, 5 10,000s, and then 100,000 to get our 150,000. Okay, so now comparing Lee and Gary, we can see that 15 10,000 equals 150,000. So Lee and Gary received the same amount of money. Okay, because 15 10,000s equals 150 thousands.